Hey, it's the podcast guy.
Sutton United Talk Time on podcast. It's the Sutton Podcast.
And there it is! Sutton United at the GM Vauxhall Conference have put out First Division Coventry City, winners of the FA Cup themselves less than 2 years ago. And what a moment to enjoy for the fans of this Surrey side. They've had their moments before, but never one like this. But the whistle goes down. Delight for Sutton United. Sutton United from the National League are through to the last 16 of the FA Cup. No longer English football's perennial non-league club. A 123-year crescendo reaches a new peak for Sutton United, who are promoted to the Football League for the first time.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Sutton United Talk Time on podcast. It's the Sutton Podcast in association with Lucky Star Gin. I'm your host Mike, and with me on the panel today we have Harry and Sarah. Please remember, we are going to discuss another 4-3 loss up north and Lewis Simper's wonderful clearance. We love hearing from you. Join the conversation, stay connected, share your thoughts on all our episodes, chat with other fans, and let us know what you think at Sutton Podcast on all social medias. The likes and the shares do make the ego grow, you know this, so thank you very much. It's been a while for both of you. I didn't check up how long, but Harry, how have you been?
Yeah, I've been very well, thanks. You
Yeah.
all right?
Yeah, good. You still guarding the director's boxes on match days?
Yes.
Yeah,
All right.
good. Never lets me upstairs. And Sarah, how are you?
I'm fine, thanks, Mike. Yeah, going here, there, and everywhere as usual.
And what time did you both get back?
I got back at about 10 to 5.
Okay.
I got back at about 1 o'clock this afternoon. I stayed at Rory's house. That's where Rory comes on the podcast sometimes. He and his wife are wonderful hosts, as you'd expect from such nice people.
Absolutely. I saw, the reason I asked is I saw John Meaney put up a post that he'd got home at 6:30. His little boy getting up. So, ouch. He must be knackered. I did send you this afternoon a very quick question on the Knowing Me, Knowing You segment to ask you if you could organise a friendly against any team, past or present, who would it be and why? You can be as vague as you like. It doesn't have to be a Sutton United team. It can be any team throughout history. You're frowning, but I'll give you like 10 seconds while the music plays to think of an answer to which team would you play a friendly against, any team, past or present. Sarah, we'll start with you.
Now, I wasn't sure about when you say past or present. Do you mean they're transported forward in time to now, or do you mean like those players who are now old?
No, they're transported in time. So they're
Transported in time.
So if you chose, for example, a Man United 1999 winning the treble, it would be that team at that age, and so on. Or Brazil 1970, it wouldn't be the Brazilian 1970 survivors running around in their 60s and 70s. But who would you love to see at a friendly at Gander Green Lane?
Oh, you didn't specify it to be at Gander Green Lane.
Okay, it could be anywhere. I didn't specify that. It could be anywhere, right.
You know what? Generally, it's the lower league team that gets to play at home for friendlies, of course, isn't it? And so that kind of put me. I thought about the Newcastle United team of like 95, 94, 95, 96, when they had like Alan Shearer playing for them, and I was like that team. I used to watch a match of the day that made me fall in love with football. Even like them and Sutton at the same period, because that's when I started going to Sutton as well, and we fall in love with football. And then I thought, yeah, but if we played them friendly, we wouldn't get to go to St James's Park. That would be amazing. And then I thought about, where would I like to go then? And there's this team in Norway that plays in this incredible stadium on like an island. It's like a rock in the middle of the sea. And I was like, wouldn't that be incredible to go to? And then I thought, no, don't be an idiot. You know what you really want, Sarah. You know what you want. What you really want is to play a friendly with the current team against that Sutton team when you first started going. I don't know why I'm talking to myself in the third person. When I first started going, it was back in the day, and we used to hang around in the bar after the game. The players would come in, and you'd have all the banter, and the banter would carry on out on the pitch next game. And those guys were so funny, and they were drunks as well. I mean, no, not really. That's quite an allegation. But they always had a pint after the game. So, Gaffer wasn't looking. Gaffer with his cigar. And I was like, I wonder what they'd make of our current side and vice versa. That would be quite an eye-opener, wouldn't it? So I'd quite like to see that.
Yeah, it definitely would be an eye-opener. OG Matt Gray? Or is that later?
OG Matt Gray, yeah, he came in a couple of years after I started going, I think. Definitely, yeah.
Yep. I'm not sure what made me think of him when you talked about drinking. Anyway, we'll move on. Harry, what about yourself? What team would you love to see at, well, it doesn't have to be Candy Green Lane, but as Sarah said, it's most likely. What team would you like to see Sutton play the present crop?
First.
Oh, sorry, Harry, you're breaking up a little bit there.
Man United.
All right, the current team, or
Maybe not their current team. Maybe like when they go back to had like sort of Paul Scholes and the likes of obviously.
so the treble team?
Fun?
The treble team?
Yeah, that's what
You're about. You wouldn't remember the treble team. How old are you?
I was thinking that.
24.
That was literally when you were a couple of years after you were born. But no, you're right. It's a big legendary team. But yeah, it'd get a crowd. Not like the under 21. But let's hear your answers. Give me a tag at Sutton Podcast on social medias. Let me know what team you would love to see past or present play against Sutton United. Club news, there's not a huge amount, but the young fans meet and greet was changed to Friday 1:30 to 3 o'clock. Surprised I mentioned it, because even if you multiply the top age of that age group by 3, I still wouldn't qualify, because it's 17 and it's, well, I just about qualify. So between 13 and 17, if you're available, because it is half term, Friday 1:30 to 3 o'clock, there's a meet and greet with players. Harry, what did you feel about the lineup, and what were your hopes and expectations for last night?
I always sort of knew that would work, sort of set up, sort of be quite compact, sort of break down.
Sorry, Harry, you're breaking up, so I don't know if you want to come closer or if you want to drop out and come back on.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll try and hold my phone closer to me, but that means it might be very much in your face, but I do apologise.
We can see your pretty face, it's fine. Everyone's looking at me anyway, don't worry.
So can you sort of just put the question to me again, please?
Yeah. So you're just talking about what you thought about the lineup and expectations and of the match.
I was very much obviously expected to sort of side that how he was going to sort of line up like he was to play with, obviously like the one sort of striker, and be sort of compact in sort of like the midfield and try and like a make sort of shift sort of as probably we can get to a back 4, because we wanted to try and be as sort of hard to sort of break down. Then when we obviously have the moments to sort of transition, sort of play to try and hit teams like we have sort of done, like in the sort of, I think in the sort of like the second half of games, sort of soak up pressure in the sort of first half, and then obviously to try and obviously take the game to the other team in the second half.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I'd gone for a nice tight 1-0 win, so that went well. What were your expectations of the match, Harry? Were you hoping for a win? Were you expecting?
I was sort of going into the sort of game. I wasn't going into the game expecting a sort of, I think, win, because obviously, like, as much as I would love us obviously sort of win, going away from home is always very sort of tough. So I was just sort of going there. If we can go there with what we've obviously sort of already got going into the game with, it's always going to be sort of good to sort of come away from home with a valuable point, especially against a sort of good team like Gateshead, especially following on from the last game, Oldham away, to back it up with another away point. It's always very good on the road.
Yeah, absolutely. And Sarah, what are your sort of thoughts on the expectations and the lineup?
I'm not really as technical as Harry, I don't think. I did sort of notice that a couple of players were missing that I wouldn't expect. I've gathered some players were unwell, which kind of explained that. But I did think we probably need to be quite defensive against Gateshead because they are a good side. And, like Harry said, it's always hard to get anything when you're away from home, especially if you've got so far to travel, to be honest. They must take it out of players, takes it out of everyone, doesn't it? So I was expecting it to be a difficult game. I didn't expect a win. I hoped for a win. I hoped for a point. I thought we could get something out of it, but only if we really went for it. I wasn't expecting. Like I say, I wasn't expecting 3 points out of it, but I went in with hope in my heart as usual.
Yeah, that's what kills us all the time. I do that. It was when Jack Charlton was in charge of Ireland all those years ago. It was basically the premise was we expect to lose, but we hope to win. And it was like, okay, well, I'll do that for everything. I got to watch it with a bunch of other Sutton United fans because they decided to show it in Amber's/Roland's bar, which was actually quite good. There was about 40, 50 people there maybe, and did make me think that all this chat about 3 o'clock kickoffs being the blackout. It's like, well, actually, why don't you just let clubs show it? So you have to buy a ticket through your own club, and rather than being on TV at home. But yeah, it was great to be able to watch it with everyone. Until we kind of went 2-0 down fairly quickish, and it seemed that we were being a little bit outplayed for the first 30 minutes or so. We were struggling. You're nodding along, Sarah. What did you kind of think at that point? We're sort of half an hour-ish in, and we're 2-0 down.
Yeah, I thought for at least like the first 20 minutes, half hour, we looked totally out of our depth. They were taking us apart. There were moments when they just cut through us like a hot knife through butter. And I was like, oh my God, is this going to be a complete thrashing? And I was, I was dreading the worst. But, we did turn it around. But I was just so worried that we wouldn't, honestly, because I think some sides, after conceding those 2 goals, would, with the best will in the world, they'd try and go on, but psychologically, they've taken such a blow going 2 down that early. And give credit where credit's due. That didn't happen.
No, absolutely not. Harry, what were you thinking at the sort of that first half hour, the 2-0 down? Were you kind of, oh dear, this could be a big one?
Yeah, I thought obviously being away from home and going 2-0 down as early as we sort of I think did, I thought okay, it's going to be a long way sort of back from here sort of thing. And with the way how the game was sort of planning out at the sort of time and stuff, and like Sarah sort of alluded to, they were just playing us out the sort of park, and we just couldn't really sort of get to grips with them sort of like anywhere sort of near them because the way they were just playing through us.
Yeah, I mean, I know loads have said on it, but they've got a very, very big empty stadium. Do you think if they had a smaller ground and everyone was a bit more compact, we would have struggled because the fans would have been right up for that? But as it is, it's kind of quite, I think Steve said, soulless. What do you think of the sort of stadium and the atmosphere? I know you guys were making a lot of noise, we could hear you. But what do you think, Harry, of their stadium and the layout?
I just didn't really sort of feel like it was a football ground as sort of, I think, sort of as such, just like the nature of how the layout of the sort of ground was, and how far we felt away from the sort of pitch itself with the running track in between, in comparison to sort of like other grounds we've obviously sort of been to, and obviously just sort of like the shape of the sort of ground just didn't really have to give me that sort of, I think, sort of like a sort of football sort of like ground that we'd obviously would be going to see.
Yeah, I think it is an athletics stadium, isn't it, Sarah? And they kind of just rent it. I mean, nice, lovely, lots of facilities, but is it for them to play football? I mean, what do you think of the atmosphere? I know you've been there before.
Yeah, it's a great stadium for athletics. For non-league football, I've always said it's an awful place to watch football. I hate saying that because Gateshead, they're all such. It's a nice club. They're all such lovely people. Like the stewards, they're really nice. People on the gate are really nice. Everyone's lovely. The lady in the T-bar was lovely, and the fans are lovely as well. But I'm sorry, it's an awful place to watch football. You can't get an atmosphere. The home fans can't see the away fans. The away fans can't see the home fans because you're side by side. And because you're side by side, it looks like the entire stadium's empty. And because it looks empty, it kind of feels empty. Even if you're in a crowd of a few hundred people, you can't kind of get up an atmosphere in there. It just gets lost.
Yeah, no, of course. I mean, the camera faces that big empty stand, so you guys are kind of underneath the camera. It's like I always wonder when teams are doing this, why don't you put the camera on showing the stand that's partly full? Because it makes people kind of go, oh, well, it's not COVID anymore. But we got back into it just before half time. Sarah, will stick with you for this one. What was your view of Will's goal and the beautiful pass from Jack just before it?
That was a cracking move.
Yeah,
absolutely brilliant.
And how you felt.
It lifted the spirits, I have to say. I've been doing a bit of number crunching recently because I'm a bit of a nerd, and we do seem to score most of our goals kind of in the 10 minutes either side of half time, which is interesting. And we did it again. It was sort of that moment when that amazing ball came through, and we're like, that is some nice football. And I think we all just kind of caught up in the moment, really. It was just like, we were still losing, but we were like, yeah, what was that? That was brilliant. Can we have some more, please?
Yeah, it gave you that little lifeline of, oh, hang on, we are in this. I mean, Harry, how did you feel about that? And what did you think of the goal?
Obviously, with it being in there, sort of, I think half and up, with us putting the sort of pressure and sort of dispossess them from where we were to sort of, and then obviously sort of the passage of sort of players where the sort of played ball through the lines from Wadham into sort of Will Davis, and obviously he'd sort of done his sort of, I think, part on his part tremendously well. Then like in that area, I just had it in sort of, there was always in the back of my mind that he was going to sort of score from it. With obviously his hot scoring form, and luckily he did.
Well, yeah, I think Steve did say Will does what he does when he gets the ball in the box like that. He's like, okay, he's going to score. That's it now. And it's a long time since we've had that. He's going to score. Then Bez had a shot, which, I mean, you could argue was from a corner because it kind of started from a corner. But I have said before, at what point does it stop being a set piece? It came out, and then it's like he has a wonderful shot, and he must have been ever so slightly gutted that it was saved until Mr. Kirk just beautiful finish. What were you thinking at the equaliser, Harry, and what did you think of the goal?
I thought it was a great sort of reaction to sort of be alive to the sort of danger, sort of like, because I think when you're always going to have a sort of shot like that, you just always got to be sort of very much the goalkeeper could sort of maybe just parry it at any sort of given time with the sort of nature. And obviously he was obviously quickest to sort of react, sort of thing, and then to sort of put the ball in the back of the net to make it sort of 2-2. Then I thought it's the game sort of, it's back on, it's game on, it's sort of how this sort of game sort of started with, sort of thing, like back to how we were going into the sort of game. We were back in the game, and then I was thinking, what approach are we going to take from this now? We're 2-2. Are we going to sort of just try and be compact and sort of try and what we do from the sort of start game and just sort of sit on that, or are we going to try and go for the win when we obviously took the 3-goal lead? I think the next goal in the game, I thought there's a sort of, I think, strong chance we can come away and nick this game. Yeah,
I mean, I can't remember who said it. It might have been Steve Salis when he was saying that the difference between National League players and Premier League players isn't necessarily about skill. It's about speed of thought. And I definitely would have been standing there going, oh, what a great shot. Oh, man, I should have done something with that. But Sarah, how did you feel at the equaliser, and what were your thoughts on the goal?
Pretty much exactly what Harry said, really. He said that I feel like 2-2 and 0-0 are very different. Very different. Now, that was the moment when, for the first point of the game, I found myself thinking, we could nick this. We had the upper hand at that point. Even though the score was equal, we just scored 2 goals. So we were kind of on top. And I was sort of thinking, go on, let's do this. And that moment, I felt that we could go ahead and do it. And you know what we could have done? It could have gone either way, couldn't it? That was the point at which I thought it could have gone either way.
And it did.
Well, of course it went one way, yes.
Yeah. I mean, obviously I joke around about the clearance, but Simper's goal, Sarah, go on. I mean, it could come with some kind of warning of adult content or something,
because it was that sexy. It was that sexy. That was one of the best Sutton goals I've seen in years, I think. I haven't actually watched it back yet, but I might have to do that in bed later. That wasn't supposed to sound smutty. No, I'm going to own that. I'll be smutty about it. Because it was pure sex, that goal.
I'm lost for words. Moving on quickly. Harry, what did you think about the goal? Please don't tell me you're watching it in bed later as well.
Just the way he sort of executed it, and it just sort of just left his sort of boot. And I thought it was just very much Luke Simper-esque, sort of like, because he's got that sort of something like having sort of shots from sort of long range out. But I just didn't think like in the sort of space of the moment, the way the sort of like 2-2, like I think everyone was sort of in sort of shock when sort of just like where it was sort of in the back of the net, and then there was a bit like in such like a sense of shell shock, like whoa, it's gone in sort of like.
Yeah, that is definitely the kind of shot that he would have received a huge bollocking had it not gone in. Because why are you just giving possession back to them? No, I messaged him and said, look, I know it's all about the 3 points and everything, but that was sensational. But the only trouble is now, every time you get the ball, you're going to get at least one idiot going, shoot. And that's me. I'm that idiot. And he was like, yeah, I don't mind, except Will keep shouting at me about it. But Jack Wadham's influence on the game, again, quite quiet, but he did have technically 2 assists because he nodded it down to Simper. So it counts as an assist. If Nadesan can claim Will's one at the York as an assist, I'm sure Jack can. He did place the ball nicely for Will, and he did kill the keeper. So
that did change the game rather a lot, I think.
A lot of his work kind of went unnoticed. But yeah, so we're 3-2 up, and I mean, they got back into it with another sensational goal, and then they were pushing forward, and as you were saying earlier, Claire, Sarah, we had the ascendancy. Suddenly it switched back to them, and they were pushing forward, and we were kind of hanging on, and unfortunately they got that goal. I mean, it was interesting. Steve corrected it from, unluckily they got that finish. No, it wasn't lucky. It was a good finish. But how were you sort of feeling at 3-3 and then at 4-3? Harry, we'll start with you.
At 3-3, I thought I was sort of like biting my sort of, I think like sort of teeth sort of thing. Like this game is getting a bit jittery now. Like it's 3-3. Like the ascendancy has sort of, I think, gone back onto sort of them because they, like, I think you just sort of alluded to, like, because they just got the next sort of goal, so it puts them like in the sort of spur of belief going into it that they could go and win the game, and we're just sort of on the sort of back burner. Sort of like we just got to try and sit it out and just ride it, throw at us, and then we just got like sort of like really sort of digging deep, and then I think we just fell short, and then like sort of they go in.
Yeah, they picked it up just as we were kind of
ran out of steam a bit, didn't we?
Yeah, starting to. So Sarah, how were you at that point? I mean, go on, I'll tell you afterwards what I was thinking, but what were you thinking at sort of 3-3, 4-3?
3-3, I was just sort of joking around with my mates about, like, not another injury time winner for them, please. And I was saying, but then this game, the way things are in this game, I still felt it could go either way. Maybe it's us that'll get the late winner. Yeah. But you know what? I was almost relieved that they got it 10 minutes earlier than we usually concede them, because those break your heart.
Right, okay. Alex nearly got kicked out of the group because I think he said this has got a late winner for them all over it, and I was really tempted just go, Alex has been removed from the group because
That would have been quite funny, actually. No, I think he did say stoppage time, which it wasn't.
He did, yeah. I mean, I think Andrew sort of said we shouldn't be throwing it away at 3-2, and I was like, well, their fans would be saying they shouldn't throw it away at 2-0. So, I mean, you can't show the resilience to come back from these things without having these setbacks. And I think, as we said at the top, it's very easy just to go, oh my God, we're never going to get anything out of this. It's just damage limitation at this moment. But they went for it. They showed the belief that Steve mentioned. He said he was proud of them. He showed that they believed in it and they wanted to stick to the game plan, which they did show all the way through. Because even after that we were 4-3, there was still several chances where we could have nicked a late equaliser for ourselves. But also, did it seem, or with hindsight now, can you see why some players weren't maybe as on it as they usually are, Sarah, especially knowing that sickness was going through the camp and there was like 2 or 3 people who ideally wouldn't have been playing last night?
Oh, totally, yeah. I mean, if they've been feeling under the weather at all, by that point in the game, they must have been exhausted. Especially after a long journey when you're feeling unwell, it's bad enough. But they're having to play 90 minutes of football. And, you know, you could see, I think right towards the end, I felt like they were kind of panicking a little bit almost. Not exactly panicking, I don't think that's the right word, but they weren't quite holding their nerve as well as they were earlier in the game. And they weren't quite so composed in front of goal. And I think they were just, you know, they just run out of energy. And I mean, finding out that they were unwell and playing anyway. I mean, I'm like Steve said, I'm really proud of those players for sticking at it and giving it their best shot because they really did play. They played with their hearts on their sleeves, didn't they? And you know, you love to see it, even when you lose. Still love to see that spirit.
No, absolutely. And yes, you could argue 0-0 would have been better because we had a point, but I think it shows our intent. We're going.
Well, why do we go to football, Mike?
Exactly. What 0-0s? Harry, what do you think of the? I mean, was it noticeable to you that players weren't quite on it, or is it only afterwards you're like, that makes a bit more sense now?
I didn't really know that there was a sort of, I think, sickness within the sort of camp until, like, I think after the sort of game, someone mentioned to me on the supporters coach that there had been some sickness. I think at half time. And then from that sort of thing, I think you could just sort of see it within some of the sort of players from what they were sort of giving out on that pitch, sort of thing. Like, even though it didn't look like some of them might have been not giving 100%, but they were giving probably what the best they could probably give in that game.
Yeah, they were probably giving 100% for what they could, but not the 100% that they would usually do if they're fully fit.
Yeah, like what the other players would have been given. Had everyone been on the sort of, I think,
exactly. Those 2 extra players, 3 extra players being at full fitness would have made a difference, but you can't just go, oh, we're not playing a fixture, people are feeling a bit unwell. But the comment, what you said, Sarah, the journeys, because it's not just the Gateshead journey on the day. They obviously did Oldham a couple of days ago, so it's Oldham home, Gateshead home. It's gonna take it toll on you. So yeah, well done to everyone. I know it was a loss and it's a gutting loss, but yeah, I'm proud of them, like you said, Sarah. There were a couple of things. I mean, interestingly, some of Sutton fans were. Oh, hang on, I've got a new jingle. It's Points of Views. Would you believe that's me singing? It's not. Would you believe?
No.
It's AI. So technically, I chose it all. But
well, in that case, it's you singing.
No, not as good as my singing of what was it, Pizza Cup Master and Public.
That was dreadful. Don't do that ever again.
Not promising that. But yeah, there's a comment throughout the match, throughout the first half, about Dylan not being quite effective, and he's not that great in the sort of wing backy role, which is interesting because I listened back to the commentary today because, as I said, they were doing some shout outs and I just wanted to hear them, and they were actually full of praise of for Dylan, and they were saying that he's been doing a lot of running and people aren't seeing him, and they're not. So he's on his toes, he's running forward, and the pass wasn't coming. So I think that reinforces the fact that a lot of people watch football with different eyes, different lenses, as Sally says. But what do you think, Sarah? I mean, you don't like to pick out players or anything, but it was just funny that some of the fans were saying he wasn't playing very effectively, and yet their comms team were full of praises for him.
I didn't think he was playing badly, but I did feel like, especially at the beginning of the game, he felt like he was lacking confidence a bit. He's this thing where he kind of waits a second too long before taking a shot, for example, and then it's too late. But I know, I've always really feel for him, because if he just went for it, then maybe he'd score a few,
Yeah, that always happens. So when you're searching for that first one, you want the moment to be perfect.
Yeah, and I think I wonder if it is confidence or if it's more kind of perfectionism. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, let's ask Harry. Come on, Harry, as a goal scorer, what's it like to when you're going through a bad patch? Oh, this is very close. I've never been through one. What's it like going through a bad patch and not having that confidence and taking that extra touch, that extra second?
You've just got to keep obviously showing that sense of sort of, I think, belief sort of in yourself, and try not to sort of let yourself sort of down in the more you do that. The thing is, I think the confidence will eventually sort of, like, you just won't have so much of it. So then you just need to sort of have that sort of sense of like belief and sort of self-motivation. More I try not to sort of overthink, like you might sometimes sort of how it might score in the situation. Like you just need to try and obviously not to try and overthink up there sort of thing. Let people just sort of talking. He's not scored for quite some time, and he's in the moment like when he always know what to do. They always put it onto him. So he just needs to try and sort of slow down.
Right, you're fading away again, but I think we got the gist of that. Is hit it and just try not to overthink it. I think you said let your feet do the thinking for you. Their comments, in fairness, was also full of praise for Will. They were just going all over the top on him, saying how was a perfect centre forward. And Jack Sims, they were saying he hasn't done anything wrong. I mean, it's mad to say that for a keeper who's letting 4 goals, but they were saying he played really, really well. There's not a lot he could do with.
They were good goals, to be fair.
Exactly. I mean, I think all the goals in that match were good goals.
Yeah.
It wasn't any that you could go, oh yeah. Oh, well, I suppose every goal you could pick a little bit and go, well, could have done that better. But the other conversation I wanted to have was the gesture from the players or the coach paying the entrance fee for the coach tickets. Now, first of all, new information has come to light, and it seems there was karaoke on the coach.
Yeah, because I was.
Yeah, so I can perhaps say it wasn't such a fair trade as people might think it was. But yeah, there was quite a bit of talk back and forth. I know we had a little conversation in our group about it. In hindsight, I've kind of gone back and read some of the things to see it's not about the money, it's about the apparently the wording of people on the coach are heroes, and people go, well, hang on, other people are heroes as well.
I didn't take it that way. I just thought it meant away fans in general are heroes for this going to this game.
Yeah, I think some people took it a different way, or some people were just moaning about the money. I don't know, but if we're going to fork out like 150 quid plus, the 20 whatever quid isn't going to make a huge difference to.
Do you know what? The cost of admission to the game is probably the difference between what I paid for the train and what people pay for the coach.
Mm-hmm.
So, fair enough.
But yeah, I was just kind of like, wonder what the players will be thinking, reading some of it. Maybe they won't, maybe they just don't bother.
I hope
yeah.
not.
But Harry, how was it on the coach journey with the
On
karaoke?
the way up, I think everyone was sort of like quite in sort of, I think, sort of good sort of, I think, spirits and sort of just, because it was quite not many of the sort of people on the coach. People were just sort of just looking forward to sort of the sort of, I think, the day of it really, just sort of just looking forward to sort of getting up there, because we got up there in sort of good time. Pretty much a breeze journey sort of thing. Like, we got up there by about 5 o'clock, so we had a few hours to spare and stuff. So like, it didn't really think too much of it. We were just going at a nice sort of leisurely, smooth pace, having a laugh and stuff. One way and the other, then before we know where we are, the time has sort of gone, sort of thing.
Perfect. The way home was longer, obviously.
No, not really. Everyone just lacked sort of energy and stuff. Just felt deflated after the game, and everyone was just so like just taking so much out of them. Just wanted to sort of go to sleep and just sort of sort of one from everything.
Okay, doke. Well, I mean, we've rattled through quite quickly actually, but what we're going to do is do the good, the bad, and the funny. And I've changed the ending of this one, but I'll come back to you in a second to ask what was good about the day. Okay, I'm not sure if that's an improvement or not, but I like it. Harry, what was good for the day on you? Again, it's anything you like, sort of on the pitch, off the pitch, journey, anything.
Just the sort of obviously the sort of journey, obviously with obviously the nice sort of, obviously the sort of like the crowd of coach, the sort of small coach going having a bit of entertainment, and then obviously like the local sort of pub, obviously at the top, like very close to the ground, when we all sort of like a lot of them all just sort of met up there, like sort of like they obviously like a large contingent of what was there, all sort of coming to sort of together to sort of meet, all sort of going into the sort of ground, sort of all sort of come together was so lovely to sort of see. Like when obviously I sort of turn up and sort of see how many are there, I just thought it was remarkable.
Yeah, no, it's use my words carefully because insane is really what you lot are. But hey, love you all. Sarah, what was good for you about the day?
I've got quite a lot of things actually, but I'm going to go with getting my little band of Sutton mates from the late 90s back together for the first time in about 25 years, watching the game for people who've moved all over the UK and hardly make games anymore, or only make a few games a season, and finding ourselves all sitting in the same stand. Probably the first time we've ever all sat in the same stand, because it was always standing in those days.
Yeah, well,
Yeah. But we're old now, so I need to sit down. So that was awesome. It was, it was the people that, I used to make a nuisance of myself with when we were teenagers. We used to be little tearaways going to away games and, loud mouths. And it was very nostalgic. That was lovely.
now you're the ones going, oh, sit down, just shush.
No comment.
What was bad about the day?
My parents, when they got married, they lived in Gateshead for a while. Not for very long, way before I was born. But to this day, anytime anyone mentions the name Gateshead, they will say in unison, oh, it's a dump. Now, I don't necessarily agree with them, but I decided to not bother with the metro. I'm doing a thing this season of epic walks from train stations to grounds. Not on purpose, it's just happened. I just, fancy walking. It's only like 3 or 4 kilometres or something like that. Mm-hmm. So I went for a walk, and it was starting on nice from Newcastle Station. Walking over the famous bridge and everything. So as you get to the other side, it's like, now you're on like this ridiculous A road with no pavements and there's roadworks everywhere. And where am I supposed to walk? And there's concrete everywhere. And I just didn't enjoy that at all. It was not fun. York was nicer.
You're desperately going, I'm not going to say what my parents say. I'm not going to say it.
Didn't say it. I just quoted them.
Harry, what was bad for you?
Obviously, the sort of like the last sort of like the kicking the sort of teeth right at the sort of step where I thought we'd just come away with the sort of, I think, like a valuable point sort of thing that they've obviously come back to 3 or 4. We can come home and take this back to sort of obviously Sutton with us, and sort of like for them to sort of go and just sort of, I think, win 4-3 on a long sort of journey home. It just felt a bit like like a
Yeah.
tough one to swallow.
It'd almost be better if it was 3-0 because then you're like, oh, I have no hope. But
Yeah.
oh well, never mind. What was funny about the day for you, Harry?
It's probably just having the entertainment on the sort of coach, really.
I thought you were going to say that.
Singing was good.
Singing away, just enjoying it. Nice, sort of just like put my feet up, like loads of chairs. Oh, wonderful.
But whose singing was the worst? Come on.
I'll probably have to be honest and say probably either mine or someone else's, to be honest.
Okay, was Lewis with you?
Yeah, he didn't fancy doing it.
He didn't fancy doing it. Okay.
He sort of putting himself through, and I don't blame him, to be fair.
Are you sure it wasn't no one else fancied him doing it?
There it is. And Sarah, what was funny for you?
Well, when I got to the ground, I just went and checked with one of the stewards that I was going the right way for the away entrance. And he was funny. We had a little bit of banter. He was really sweet. They were really nice. And he went, do you want to have a bit of fun? Do you want to play a game? And I was like, yeah, okay. And he goes, right, when you get to the away entrance, there's a couple of blokes there, stewards, and there's a woman there who'll search your bag. Now, pretend you're psychic. Her name's Angela, but she doesn't know you know that. I'm like, okay, let's do that then. Yeah, don't tell her how you found out her name. Right, okay. So I go around there. Good evening, everyone. You know, little hello and exchange pleasantries. And she's like, do you mind if I look in your bag? I go, yeah, go for it. You got your work out on a Tuesday night with our journey, all of overnight stuff. She's going through my bag and she's like, oh, that's all fine. Yeah, off you go. And thanks. I'm like, all right, cheers, Angela. So walking off. As I turned around, she was like, how do you know my name? And I was like, I didn't realise I'd said your name. What did I say? And she just looked so creeped out that I just went, oh, the bloke around the corner told me, because I just thought it was
I mean, it's an interesting start to a conversation in a sort of dark evening, far from home. Do you want to play a game? No. I don't. Thank you, weirdo.
I mean, it wasn't exactly a dark corner. It was like this floodlit, huge kind of open area in front of the ground. But yeah, I could have said no, but he seemed a fun guy.
Right. Well, moving on very quickly, we have got Braintree on Saturday. What do you guys think of how that's going to go? Sarah, we'll stick with you. I know you don't do the prediction league, but chuck in a prediction. Everyone loves hearing predictions. So how do you think that game is going to go? Do you think we're going to be over the tiredness by then, or is it?
It'd be nice to be at home, won't it? So I was thinking about that. We've got some tricky time. I'm very, very, very glad we've been doing at home events anymore, because otherwise we'd have something like 6 away games next month. So Braintree's like a chance to kind of just not exactly relax, because you can't do that in this league, but just maybe the day itself will be a little bit easier. Players might have had a few days to recover from whatever ails them. We tend to have a reasonably good record against Braintree, but I want to get the balance right between not being complacent or going, oh, we should win that, and showing that I do actually have faith in our players. So I'm going to go for a 2-0 win.
2-0, lovely. The Braintree fan I spoke to has gone for a 2-1 to them. He said they've been doing better recently under their new manager, I think. So, Harry, what do you reckon? How do you see the game going, and what's your score prediction?
I can see it being quite a sort of tight affair, to be fair. Like, we're getting sort of, I think the teams sort of, lower in the table, but then obviously you can't really sort of gauge where teams are within the sort of table. Like, so it's like teams below us, sort of like, but anyway, where you are in the sort of league, every sort of game's sort of competitive, and it's always going to be posed as different fight. But I just find the sort of teams like Braintree, I think, like a bogey sort of side for us. Even though they haven't, I don't think in the past, we sort of tend to sometimes send it hard to sort of, I think, crack and break through them sort of games, and we might try to find it hard sort of thing, because they're the way they've sort of set up sort of thing. But I think we come out edge it 2-1. But I think
2-1? Okay.
it'd be quite a tight game, and we sort of get a winner in like the last 15.
Yep. Okay. Well, I'm going to go with 3-2 Sutton, because I think it will be a bit more open because there'll be a bit of tired legs, because they're playing tonight as well. So I mean, it's only Wealdstone, so I don't know if they're at home or away, but so yeah, they're not going to be as tired with the journey, but they're playing one night later. So
you say only Wealdstone, but at that time of day, that's an annoying journey to make to the other side of London.
It also might not be Wealdstone. I don't know. I know Wealdstone are playing tonight, and I know Braintree are playing tonight, but they could be playing two completely separate teams. I know nothing.
Yeah, they are playing Wealdstone, but they're at home.
Yes. Oh, okay, yeah, but still, I got one part of that right.
It's 0-0. They're 4 minutes in.
Right, perfect. Thank you very much. And now you know when we record. So. Right, I am going to wrap it up. Thank you both so much. We always appreciate everyone's attention and feedback. Get involved in the Knowing Me, Knowing You segment. If you could organise a friendly match with any team, past or present, who would it be and why? Follow, like, and share this episode at Sutton Podcast on social medias. Don't forget to like and subscribe on your preferred platform. We will be back after the Braintree match, and we will have Joe and George. I'm 99% sure. So get your questions in for them. I'm going to be feeling very, very old on that one because they're both babies. As always, thank you to our sponsors, Lucky Star Gin. Big thank you to today's panel. Sarah and Harry, both individually watching Lewis's goal in bed later on. Worrying. And thank you to the listeners. Hope you enjoyed this episode of the podcast. Take care, and we'll catch up soon. Bye-bye.
United! 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 United!